Very dear students, today we are going to talk in this video about the importance, significance, or role of context in discourse analysis. Discourse is something which everybody does, and therefore it is essential that to understand the meaning of the discourse in the context is very much essential. Let us see how we can do that. For example, if we try to define what is discourse analysis in the context, context is a central concept because significantly influences how language is produced, interpreted, understood. From here, everybody can guess that context is really very significant because without that, in isolated sentences, it won't be possible to understand the real meaning. So, that is why the context should be known. Now, what are the things which indicate the context markers? For this purpose, let us go to the next slide. Here are some of the context markers. There are linguistic context, situational context, social context, cognitive context. Let us explain all these contexts separately, and therefore let's proceed further. The thing that we want to first of all decide is the linguistic context. In this regard, if you look at the first portion of the slide, it says that linguistic context depends on the words, on the phrases, and the specific linguistic items. These all play a very important role in determining the meanings. For example, look at this sentence number one in the example. It says, John could not lift the box because it was too heavy. Sentence 2 says, John couldn't lift the box because it was too light. Now, the word it has been used in order to indicate far too heavy and far too light. So, in this way, the things can be explained only in the context also. So, meaning of the it is explained in the sense when and how it has been said. In the same way, the situational context is very important. According to the situation, we need actually to understand what was the physical space in which the speaker and the listener occurred. For example, in a classroom, a teacher says, Can you close the window? And in the office, the boss says, Can you close the window? The tone and the style, whatever it may be, the place would indicate, for example, in the classroom, it may not be in order, but in the office, it can be an order. So, situational context is also very important to understand the things. Same is the case with social and cultural context. For example, in social and cultural context, we try to see the relationship, the norms, the power structures of the society, because all these things combine together in order to provide us what is the real meaning of all that. For example, in Japanese, the words which are said are good morning. I don't know what the pronunciation of these words is, but still, this is the Japanese word. And a greeting in the USA, just two letters, that is hi. So, when you look at the level of formality, hi would determine the level of formality. So, therefore, in one culture, the same word which are spoken for the good morning may not be carrying the same formality because of the context of the place and the culture. But in the other culture, like USA, there is something which says that the formality level is there. So one thing can be formal or informal in one culture, and the same may not be that formal in another culture. Same is the case with the cognitive context. This is also very much important. This is more related to the background knowledge, experiences, and assumptions that allow for effective communication. For example, the speaker A would say, How was the movie last night? The speaker would say, It was better than the last one. So the word last one keeps in our mind, reminds us that something already has been said and the same thing is being indicated. That is the cognitive context. So, therefore, we need to understand or share the knowledge of the people. In that way, we may be able to understand the things in cognitive context as well. So, after these contexts, let us see what is the importance of the context. Context is very much important in determining the meaning of the discourse. We know it very well. Context shapes the ideas because of the places, because of the cultures, because of the situations, because of the timing, and because of the cognition. All these things can be very easily understood if we talk about the example given here. I am cold, for example, can be simple statement of the indirect request to someone, and on the other hand, if pragmatically taken, it can be also meaning something else as well. So all these examples would combine hands together to make us understand how this becomes important. At this moment, we may be able to say that context really becomes very much important, because the real meaning can be understood only when we know the context of the spoken sentence. Then comes more importance. Power and identity can also be determined with respect to the context. For example, if we know who the person is speaking and what is the power of that person, at that time we can understand what will be the meaning of that. Will it be simply some order, or will it be something to be understood, or it will be a request? So that is why context has got a big importance in that. Not only this, we are able to determine the genre and the register as well. For example, if we look at a text where some words have been used which are not used in some other, by some other profession or by some other genre. For example, in poetry, for example, in prose, different structures and the words may be used. That can also make us understand why these words are used, because of particular genre. Same is the case with a register, because some particular class of people may be using particular words for their register. So from knowing the register also, we are able to understand what would be the kind of meaning of the person who wants to speak. Here, the example of the academic journal has been given, which says the results indicate a significant correlation. So these words indicate that this is about some journal, from some academic discussion, some very learned person is talking about. But on the other hand, one can say simply also in the formal setting that these two things are very much connected with each other. So that will help us understand the genre and the register also. In the same way, if we look at the speeches, for example, the political speeches, the different styles would be found in the speech which one makes in the official capacity, and the different styles would be available at that time when we look at a person who is speaking in a formal setting, in an informal setting. For example, any person, the politician, for example, if he makes speech in a meeting, in a gathering, he will be inspiring the people, he will be trying to be less authoritative. But in case of his office, where he is giving an address to the people, or to annual gathering address, or to the assembly address, he would be speaking different language, because there he is having a type of formality. So therefore, the political speeches are very best examples to understand real life discourses. The real life discourses are also available in media discourses, because media is also spreading the discourse, and they also have the similar kind of contextual importance that we need to understand. For example, a headline in a tabloid newspaper might use sensational language, while a scholarly journal on the same topic would prioritize objectivity and technical accuracy. And therefore, when you read some newspaper, there you can read any news, like shocking words will be used, or celebrities may be improved in that news. But on the other hand, if it's scholarly, there will be a different kind of situation available as the examples are being talked about. So that is why in media discourses also, the context provides us the real life examples. Political speeches and media discourses are significant in this regard. But there are some challenges to this contextual analysis also, because when you talk of the context, it's very, very necessary that you should share the knowledge about the culture, the knowledge about the situation, the knowledge about the unspoken assumptions, and knowledge about the shared knowledge. If these things are not available, misinterpretations would be possible. So that is why it is very, very necessary that one should be capable of doing really the contextual analysis. Only then the meaning would come. Otherwise, difficulties are also available there. In conclusion, we can say that we can understand any text very well if we know the situational settings, cultural and social settings. We know about the framework in which the things are being said, not only on the end of the speaker, but also on the end of the user or listener who is listening to that. Both people will be important, and all these things relevant to these people would also be very much important. So thank you very much for watching. This is all about this today. Hope to see you in some next video. If you have understood something about the role of context in the discourse analysis, you may be hitting the click button, like button, and the subscribe button. Okay, see you in some next video.